The silver dragon maids and warriors hesitated not at all. One after another, they transformed into their true silver dragon forms. Spreading their wings, they charged in perfect unison after their headmaid, rushing toward the mountain, like enemy ahead. Even though the one before them was the blazing flame dragon king, standing at the pinnacle of dragonkind, they showed not the slightest sign of retreat. They warred together, their voices filled with the resolve to die if necessary, echoing through the night sky for a long time. We swear to defend Her Majesty, the Queen, to the death. They knew better than anyone that once they charged forward, they would most likely never return. And they also knew better than anyone that every blade they slew and every breath of dragon fire they spat, every attack they blocked with their own bodies, was another second bought for the Queen deep inside the sanctuary. Even if this battle had been doomed to hardship from the very start, they were still willing to burn away the last of their strength to light the path of protection ahead. And at this moment, utterly different from the battlefield outside, where artillery thundered and corpses lay everywhere, was the delivery room deep inside the sanctuary. The heavy stone doors blocked out most of the roaring and killing outside, but they could not block that marrow-piercing dragon pressure, nor could they stop the desperate news that kept arriving. The silver dragon queen Roswitha was half reclining on the birthing bed. Her silver white hair had long since been soaked through with cold sweat, sticking to her pale cheeks and neck. Wave after wave of labor pain crashed over her body like airless tide, merely swallowing her consciousness whole, and pushing her to the brink of fainting again and again. Your Majesty, the messenger maid knelt beside the bed, her voice choked with sobs she could barely suppress, on the verge of breaking into tears. The blazing flame dragon king, Constantine, he has appeared on the battlefield in person. That sentence became the final straw, utterly crushing the mental defenses of the other maids in the delivery room. The elderly maid in charge of assisting the birth spread her arms and protected the two little princesses behind her with all her might. Her voice trembled as she spoke. We there already. Lost, no one can kill a dragon king of that level. No one. The two young princesses, still innocent and confused, clutched tightly at each other's clothes. They could not understand the despair in the adult's words, but they could feel the suffocating fear in the air. Roswitha forced herself to listen to the full report of this devastating news. She did not collapse, and she did not cry. She parted her lips slightly, and, one word at a time, forced several words out through clenched teeth. Her voice was hoarse, yet filled with hot red resolve that admitted no doubt. Dragon King, kill. The Dragon King, bone deep hot red intertwined with the agony of childbirth, almost tearing her body and soul apart completely. And yet at this moment, her consciousness was clearer than ever. Just then, the stone door to the delivery room was suddenly pushed open. A young maid stumbled inside, her hair in complete disarray. She rushed to the bedside and called out urgently to Roswitha, her voice full of worry. Your Majesty, the back mountain. The back mountain route has been broken open into a safe passage. Please come with me and evacuate now. If we wait any longer, it'll be too late. She reached out, trying to help Roswitha up from the bed. But Roswitha agently shook her head. She lifted her eyes slightly, and though her tone was soft, it carried absolute firmness, leaving no room for discussion. No. I single quotes, Mestiang here. I single quote. Am giving birth. But your Majesty. The young maid, face turned red with panic, tears instantly falling as she tried to persuade her again. Constantine is already here, the front line won't fold much longer. If you don't leave now, there really won't be another chance. Roswitha interrupted her. She turned her head lightly and looked toward the fire, red night sky, outside the window. The eyes that had been full of hot red just moments ago had now shed all their ferocity, leaving only endless tenderness and unshakable trust. She spoke softly, her voice gentle, yet carrying a strength that could calm everyone present. I believe in him. Everyone in the delivery room froze and looked at the queen on the bed. Roswitha's gaze returned to the front, and her tone remained calm, yet carried a certainty that was almost tangible. Speaking clearly, one word at a time, she said, killing dragon kings has always been what he does best. That sentence was like a beam of light piercing through darkness, instantly illuminating the delivery room that had been shrouded in despair. And at this very moment, in the room next to the delivery chamber, Leon was kneeling on one knee as he opened the sealed wood and chest. Inside it lay the black armor, covered in golden patterns that had accompanied him through countless battles of life and death. Every scar on that armor recorded a heart-stopping battle, and also recorded the pride he carried as a dragonslayer. He reached out and let his fingertips gently brush over the armor's gold surface. There was not a trace of fear in his eyes at the thought of facing a dragon king, only the warm th of reuniting with an old friend. My old friend, got crazy with me. On the battlefield, the situation had already worsened completely. Constantine's flames, like an endless tsunami, swept over the Silver Dragon clan's defenses. Again and again, the Silver Dragon warriors were already covered in wounds, their scales shattered, their blood dyeing the scorched earth beneath them red. Yet they still stood, stubbornly before the sanctuary, using their bodies to form the final wall. Anna's voice had already gone hoarse, but she still roared red with the last of her strength. Don't even think about ... taking one more step toward the sanctuary. But before the horrifying power of a Dragon King, her strength was ultimately far too insignificant. Amid the smoke and dust, Constantine looked down at the ruined battlefield beneath his feet, at the silver dragon warriors, collapsed upon the scorched ground, and let out a sneer full of contempt. His deep dragon speech exploded like thunder. HMPH. Fools who don't know their place. He slowly raised his head, his crimson dragon eyes locking on to the silver dragon sanctuary not far away. That was the true final target of this campaign. Constantine suddenly lashed his massive tail, and the flames around him surged once more. Then he issued his final command to the blazing flame, dragon clam's royal guard behind him. Drak ver Quintrafusht. Yes. The blazing flame dragon guards, clad in red robes and silver armor, immediately raised their burning weapons high, and let out earth-shaking battle cries. Like a flood, they launched their final charge toward the sanctuary gates. Outside the sanctuary doors, only a few maids remained, already on the verge of collapse. They looked at the enemy army rushing toward them like a tide, them at the tightly shut sanctuary gates behind them. Their hands trembled as they gripped their weapons, and in voices breaking with sobs, they called out in fragments, "Your Majesty, run, quickly, Your Majesty!" And just as the blazing flame dragon guards were about to break through the sanctuary gates, a blinding blue bolt of lightning suddenly tore through the night sky without the slightest warning and struck the leading blazing flame dragon's head on. A deafening explosion rang out at once. Surging currents instantly swallowed a huge section of the enemy forces whole. The stench of burning mixed with shrill screams, and the unstoppable charge came to an abrupt halt in that very moment. Who is that? The surviving blazing flame dragon soldiers looked up in horror toward the direction where the lightning had fallen. In the very center of the swirl, in smoke and crackling electricity, a tall figure was slowly stepping forward. Blue lightning coiled around his body. His jet black short hair whipped wildly in the raging currents of air. The silver coating on the surface of his black gold chariot had gradually dried, just a simple disguise he had used before arriving on the battlefield so as not to expose his human identity. On his silver-white armor, the golden patterns shone even more brilliant under the glow of the lightning. With every step he took, the ground beneath his feet trembled slightly. The aura of supremacy radiating from him actually overpowered even the dragon might of the blazing flame dragon king. The blazing flame dragon king Constantine sensed that all too familiar presence, and narrowed his eyes slightly, interest flickering within them. This power ... could it be? As the figure stepped out of the smoke little by little, everyone finally saw his face clearly. One of the guards' cherry instantly went rigid all over. Her voice trembled as she forced a few words out of her throat. Prince ... Your Highness? At that instant, Constantine's pupils shrank sharply. He fixed his gaze on that silver figure, and finally understood that the greatest variable in this assault was the man standing before him. So this had been their true target all along? Completely enraged by this sudden turn of events, Constantine violently whipped his tail, pulverizing the surrounding rocks into dust under the sheer force. He opened his massive jaws and unleashed a deafening roar. Crimson dragon eyes overflowing with violent killing intent, locked on to the figure below. But in the face of a Dragon King, terrifying pressure, Leon did not retreat in the light test. He slowly raised a hand, blue lightning gathering frantically in his palm, writhing like living creatures around his finger tips and armor. He lifted his eyes to the scarlet giant dragon that blotted out the sky, his gaze cold and unwavering, and spoke one word at a time. His voice was not loud, yet it pierced through all the battlefield's noise and thunder, reaching every person present with perfect clarity. Your opponent. The next second, he suddenly stepped forward. The blue lightning magic around him surged violently, sweeping across the entire battlefield like a tidal wave. His voice carried unquestionable dominance and absolute resolve, echoing between heaven and earth for a long time. His meat. Above the night sky, thunder and flame stood in opposition, silver, white and crimson, clashing head-on. At this moment, the decisive battle that would determine the life or death of the silver dragon clan had only just truly begun.